Keanu Reeves goes undercover as homeless in a restaurant. The shocking ending will blow your mind. It was just another quiet evening in the bustling city. People were wrapped in their lives, lost in the rhythm of work, family, and the daily grind. But that night, something extraordinary was about to unfold at a small, cozy restaurant hidden in the corner of a busy street. The story I'm about to share isn't just about one man. It's about humanity, kindness, and the surprising connections we all share. And trust me, the ending will leave you speechless. The restaurant, Bistro Haven, was a favorite for locals. Known for its delicious meals and warm atmosphere, it was the kind of place where strangers could walk in and feel like family. The owner, Maria, was a kind woman in her late 40s. She had run the place for over a decade and believed that her restaurant wasn't just about food. It was about bringing people together. But that night, something, or rather, someone, walked through her doors that would change everything. Keanu Reeves, the globally beloved actor, had decided to step into a world few would ever imagine. Known for his humility and generosity, Keanu had always been deeply curious about the lives of those less fortunate. He had spent weeks thinking about a unique way to truly understand their struggles. That's when the idea struck him. What if he went undercover as a homeless man? Not as a stunt or for publicity, but to experience firsthand the raw reality of their lives. Disguised in tattered clothes, a worn-out beanie, and a scruffy beard, Keanu looked completely unrecognizable. He spent the entire day walking around the city, sitting on sidewalks, and observing the world from the perspective of someone who had nothing. It was an eye-opening experience, but his final stop was Bistro Haven. With a deep breath, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. The cozy chatter of the restaurant softened as people noticed him. His appearance was jarring. Some diners exchanged uneasy glances, while others avoided looking at him altogether. The restaurant wasn't particularly fancy, but it wasn't the kind of place where people expected to see someone who appeared homeless. Maria, who was at the counter, noticed him immediately. Her heart ached at the sight. She had always had a soft spot for those who were struggling. Without hesitation, she walked over to him with a warm smile. "Hello there," she said gently. "Can I help you with something?" Keanu looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I was wondering if I could have some water," he said, his voice soft but steady. Maria nodded. "Of course. Why don't you sit down? I'll bring you a glass." He hesitated. "I don't want to take up space. I can wait outside." "Nonsense," Maria replied firmly. "You're welcome here, just like anyone else." She led him to a small table in the corner, away from the curious eyes of the other diners. As Keanu sat down, he couldn't help but notice the subtle whispers and the occasional stares directed his way. It was a stark reminder of how society often treated those who appeared to be struggling. Maria returned with a glass of water and placed it in front of him. "Are you hungry?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. Keanu hesitated again. I don't have any money," he admitted. Maria smiled. "That's not what I asked. Are you hungry?" He nodded, his throat tightening with emotion. "Yes, very." "Then I'll bring you something to eat," she said. Before he could protest, she walked away, heading toward the kitchen. While waiting, Keanu observed the restaurant's patrons. Some were kind, offering him small, sympathetic smiles. Others seemed uncomfortable, as though his presence was an unwelcome intrusion. He realized just how invisible and judged the homeless often felt, even in spaces meant to be welcoming. Maria returned with a warm plate of food. The aroma was heavenly, a hearty stew with fresh bread on the side. She placed it in front of him with a kind smile. "Here you go. Enjoy." Keanu looked up at her, his eyes glistening. "Thank you. You didn't have to do this." "It's nothing," Maria replied. "Just eat up and let me know if you need anything else." As he ate, something incredible started to happen. A young girl, no older than 7, approached his table. She had been sitting with her parents, but seemed drawn to him. In her small hands was a chocolate chip cookie. "Here," she said, holding it out to him. "You can have this. It's my favorite." Keanu's heart swelled. He took the cookie and smiled at her. "Thank you. That's very kind of you." The girl beamed and skipped back to her table. Her parents, watching from a distance, gave Keanu a polite nod. It was a small act, but it restored his faith in humanity a little more. As the evening went on, Keanu stayed in his corner, quietly observing. Maria occasionally checked on him, making sure he was comfortable, but not everyone was as understanding. A middle-aged man, sitting at a nearby table, finally voiced what others had been thinking. "Maria, are you running a soup kitchen now?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The room went silent. Maria turned to face him, her expression calm but firm. "No, Robert. I'm running a restaurant. And in my restaurant, everyone is welcome." The man scoffed. "You're just encouraging them. Next thing you know, the place will be full of beggars." Maria's eyes narrowed. "If showing kindness means that more people in need come here, then so be it. I'd rather have a heart full of compassion than a pocket full of money." The man muttered something under his breath and went back to his meal, but the tension lingered in the air. Keanu felt a mix of emotions: gratitude for Maria's kindness and sadness for how misunderstood the homeless often were. As the night wound down, Keanu finished his meal and stood up to leave. He approached Maria, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. "I don't have money, but I want to leave you this," he said, handing her the note. Maria took it and smiled. "You don't owe me anything, but thank you." Keanu nodded, his heart full of gratitude. He turned and walked out into the night, leaving the warmth of Bistro Haven behind. The next morning, Maria found herself at the restaurant early, preparing for the day. As she went through her routine, she remembered the note the man had given her. She unfolded it and froze. Her hands trembled as she read the words. "Thank you for reminding me that kindness still exists. I'll make sure this kindness is repaid 100-fold. Keanu Reeves." Maria's mind raced. Could it really be him? The man who had quietly eaten in her corner last night? She couldn't believe it, but as she replayed the evening in her mind, certain moments began to click. The way he carried himself, the depth in his eyes. It all made sense now. Before she could fully process it, the door to the restaurant opened. A group of men in suits walked in, carrying an envelope. One of them stepped forward and handed it to Maria. "This is from Mr. Reeves," he said with a smile. Maria opened the envelope and gasped. Inside was a check for an unimaginable amount, enough to keep her restaurant running for years and help countless people in need. There was also a handwritten note. "Your kindness is a beacon of hope in a world that often forgets the value of compassion. Keep doing what you do. You're changing lives more than you know." Maria's eyes filled with tears. She looked up at the men and nodded, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. The news spread quickly, and soon, Bistro Haven became a symbol of kindness and community. People from all walks of life began visiting, not just for the food, but to be part of something bigger, a place where everyone was truly welcome. And as for Keanu, he continued his journey, quietly spreading kindness wherever he went, proving that sometimes, the simplest acts of humanity can create the most profound impact. Maria couldn't shake the whirlwind of emotions. Her modest restaurant had suddenly turned into a beacon of hope, thanks to an act of kindness that she thought was ordinary. But for Keanu Reeves, it was extraordinary. As days passed, Maria began to notice a significant change in the people who frequented Bistro Haven. The story of the mysterious man had taken on a life of its own. Customers were coming in not only for the food, but for the warmth and kindness the restaurant represented. One evening, about a week after the unforgettable encounter, Maria was preparing to close up when she noticed a woman lingering outside the door. She looked hesitant, clutching a small notebook close to her chest. Maria smiled warmly and opened the door. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice gentle. The woman nodded nervously. "I heard about what happened here, about the homeless man who turned out to be someone extraordinary. I just wanted to say thank you." Maria tilted her head. "Thank me? For what?" "For being the kind of person who sees people, not their circumstances," the woman replied. "My brother was homeless for a long time. He told me that the hardest part wasn't the hunger or the cold. It was feeling invisible. But you gave that man dignity." Maria's heart softened as she ushered the woman inside. They sat down at one of the tables, and over a cup of tea, the woman shared her story. Her brother, a talented artist, had fallen on hard times after losing his job and home. For years, he had struggled, but a chance encounter with someone kind, a stranger much like Maria, had helped him find his way back. Hearing the woman's words, Maria realized that her small gesture had ripple effects far beyond what she could have imagined. She decided then and there to use the gift Keanu had left her not just to sustain her restaurant, but to create a lasting impact. With the extra funds, Maria set up a pay-it-forward board near the counter, where patrons could prepay meals for those in need. The idea caught on quickly, and soon, the board was filled with brightly colored notes, each representing an act of kindness waiting to be claimed. One rainy evening, as Maria was closing up, she noticed another familiar face. It was the young girl who had offered Keanu the chocolate chip cookie. She was with her mother this time. The mother, a shy woman with kind eyes, approached Maria and handed her an envelope. "We wanted to thank you for what you did that night," she said. "I didn't have the courage to say anything then, but it meant a lot to my daughter." Maria opened the envelope and found a beautiful drawing of Bistro Haven, complete with colorful hearts and smiling faces. At the bottom, the little girl had written, "Thank you for teaching me that kindness matters." Maria was deeply moved. She framed the drawing and hung it near the pay-it-forward board as a reminder of why she had started the restaurant in the first place. Word of Bistro Haven's unique mission began to spread even further. Local newspapers picked up the story, followed by national media. Soon, people from all over were sending donations and notes of encouragement. Despite the growing attention, Maria remained humble. She continued to treat every customer with the same warmth and respect, whether they were wealthy patrons or those who could only afford a prepaid meal. The atmosphere of the restaurant transformed into something magical, a place where everyone felt seen and valued. One day, months after the initial encounter, Maria received an unexpected visitor. Keanu Reeves walked through the door, this time without a disguise. The restaurant was quiet as it was mid-afternoon, and only a few regulars were present. He approached Maria with a genuine smile, holding a bouquet of flowers. "I had to come back," he said. "I wanted to see how you were doing." Maria was momentarily stunned, but quickly regained her composure. Mr. Reeves, I can't believe you're here." "Keanu is fine," he said with a chuckle, "and I've been following what you've done with this place. It's incredible." Maria gestured for him to sit, and they spent the next hour talking. Keanu listened intently as Maria shared stories of the lives that had been touched by Bistro Haven's mission. From the single mother who found hope in a free meal to the elderly man who had started volunteering to help others, each story reaffirmed Keanu's belief in the power of small acts of kindness. "You've created something truly special here," Keanu said, his voice filled with admiration. "It's not just a restaurant anymore. It's a sanctuary." Maria smiled, her eyes shining. "I just followed your example. You reminded me that kindness doesn't need to be grand to make a difference. It just needs to be genuine." Before leaving, Keanu made one final gesture. He partnered with a local charity to set up a permanent fund for Bistro Haven, ensuring that the restaurant could continue its mission for years to come. He also left a simple message for Maria to hang on the wall. "Kindness is contagious. Pass it on." As time went on, Bistro Haven became a symbol of hope and humanity. People from all walks of life visited, not just for the food, but for the feeling of connection it offered. Maria continued to lead with her heart, always remembering the night a mysterious homeless man walked through her doors and changed everything. And as for Keanu Reeves, he continued his quiet crusade of kindness, knowing that sometimes the smallest gestures could create the most profound changes. His journey wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about reminding the world of one simple truth. We're all connected, and we all have the power to make a difference. In the end, it wasn't just the shocking revelation of who he was that left people in awe. It was the profound impact of his actions, proving that true kindness knows no bounds, and that even the smallest acts of compassion can ripple through the world in ways we might never fully understand.